Good afternoon, everyone. I am very happy to be here with a friend of mine who I met in 2020 during I think I met you just sort of passingly at Jolt Call 2020.
Yeah,
And
in
then,
Jolt, definitely Jolt.
and then I worked with you a little bit more during the national conference. So that was really fun. And it came to my attention that you were just, one of the best. And oh, Dr. Erin Noxon, I found out. And then I was surprised to find out that you actually work in high school.
Yep.
Have you
Yeah.
ever worked at university then?
Nope.
Have
Been
you
K through 12 and no university.
and have you ever entertained the idea that maybe it's something that you want to do, go to the university level?
I thought about it when I didn't know if I could keep this job or do this job. But then when I found out I could keep this job and do this job, I was like, nope, that's fine. So if
You
I ever don't like this job anymore, maybe.
But that's the title of the show today. It's the idea that you love teaching high school, and I
Yes.
thought that's a really interesting title because I would like to get a glimpse into what high school teachers do, and that's often very hard for us as university teachers in Japan because there's always a language barrier for most people. And for me, I don't really get a chance to meet that many high school teachers that I can communicate with that much. So this is an interesting opportunity, at least for me, and I hope everybody else. Everybody out there in Facebook land, I hope you're catching us in the live stream. Please post your comments in the live stream comments field, and I'll get those up to Erin. If you are in the room with us, we already have 3 people here with us today. If you're in the room with us, thank you very much for coming in. I will ask you to keep yourself muted until I get a chance to talk with Erin about a couple of the bigger topics that will eventually spill over into the general conversation when people open up their cameras and their microphones. Otherwise, you can write what you want to say in the chat. I'll get those to Erin too. And if you do have a question that you do want to ask, raise your hand. And yeah, we have an opportunity. We'll get you to open your mic and bring us in. Why do you love teaching in high school? If you have a capsule answer to that.
I enjoy this school and what I do in my job here. I do not know that I would enjoy every high school, but I like the opportunity that I currently have. I've taught at many different schools. I actually, honestly, to be truthful, if I just had to choose a school sight unseen, I would choose a junior high school. High school, I used to not like high school until I got to my current high school. And I love my school. And I love the programs that I do. So there you go.
What do you perceive as the difference that would make you say, just as a general statement, no, I prefer junior high as opposed to high school? What do you perceive as a difference?
Junior high school students are at a stage where they don't know what's going on and they're first like questioning the reality that is around them. And they are old enough that they get the cool concepts and the cool topics, but they are young enough that in their heart, they just want you to care about them. And so it's a very vulnerable, very influential age when you can really kind of inspire kids to go off and do great things. So it's always just they're waiting to find something for you to teach them and show them something cool. So it's like a great age to be like, look at this world that's out there and all this neat stuff. And they're just excited about it authentically. Like I feel the older the people get, the more jaded they become. And it's actually one of the reasons I've talked to a lot of my friends who do teach university. And there's a lot of kids that they really do connect with and do stuff. But as an overall, like, I don't know, encompassing statement, most of them tell me that the kids are already like set with what they want to do in life. Mm-hmm. So there's less of the, I could do this and I could do that. Like it's more on I'm on this trajectory and I'm going to keep going. So
this time of year, I find a similar sort of phenomenon in university with my first year students in the first couple of weeks of classes and the second year students in the first couple of weeks of classes. The first year students, it's a lot easier to sell them on the idea, hey, you're university students now, you got to start acting like it. High school is over. You got to start really, pulling yourself up by the bootstraps. And the second year students, if you try that same talk with them, they're going, yeah, whatever. Yeah. So what is your in your work at high school? You're a general homeroom teacher. Do you have a specific specialty that you're supposed to like really focus in on with these kids?
So Japanese high schools, like you have all the different divisions amongst the staff. So every teacher is in some sort of department. I'm in the curriculum department. I'm not in the homeroom teacher department. I've made it very clear. I hope if any of my my staff ever watches this, you know I don't want to be a homeroom teacher. The responsibility is the kind of responsibility I don't ever want. I was a homeroom teacher in the United States when I taught there, and that was good. But I don't feel like I understand deeply enough about Japanese culture to have the right interactions with parents. And that's the part that, like the kids, I would love to be a homeroom teacher just for the kids. Like I do that, but for the parents, oh, that's an extra weight that I don't know if I could communicate properly. But I'm in the curriculum section, Kyomobu. And within that, there's several different divisions. There's the routine section that does all of the like buys the copy paper and sets up the school schedules and make sure all the rooms reservations are set up and organizes where everything goes in school. So there's them. And then there's the promotion section, and that's the section that does all of the school events and maintains the website and works on the Juken, the entrance exam.
Mhm.
And then we are an SSH school, so we have an SSH section, and then I'm in the global section. So within that section, I help to plan all of the different programs that we do that involve international interactions. And then, of course, on top of all of your section duties, you have your teaching duties. So I teach several different classes, my favorite of which is a communicative English class. That's a lot of fun. So yeah, there's like all different things that we do. We have like so many hats, like I can't tell you.
The communicative English teaching, speaking only as a university teacher, what would I see if I walked into your classroom? Because that's one of the other things that we did a similar sort of show along these lines last year with a guest who was an ALT in K6, Emily Chung. She's an ALT at that level. And it was
Emily's
really
great.
interesting to talk to somebody who works at that level, because I hardly get an idea of what's actually happening. But what would I see if I was to actually go into your class? Would there be a lot of focus on grammar, or is it really about getting these kids to talk? Or you're trying to work with the Japanese teachers or trying to get them prepared for university?
So my class, so I am a full-time high school teacher. So I am basically, I call myself a not JJTE. So
Not JT.
there are 12 sections of the class during the week, and we divide it by across. So there's 6. Oh, is my feed okay? Sorry, my internet
You're
connection
kind of
says it's
stuttering a
unstable.
little bit,
Just
but at
tell
least
me if
your
I
audio is
break
good.
it.
Yeah, just keep going.
Oh, that's good. All right. Sorry. Yes. So we divided up into 6 sections, and then myself, I'm in all of the sections, and we divide the class in half. So most high schools that I've run across have somewhere between 35 to 45 kids in each class. So that's a lot of kids.
Mhm.
So we're able to divide the class in half and also combine it and do different activities and rearrange the kids everywhere. So it's myself and another teacher. And then we also have 2 ALTs at our school. So if you came into one of my class on any given day, and we have 2 different types of classes, we have speaking class and we have listening class. Everything is completely in English. If the kids start talking in Japanese, we look at them and we're like, English, please. And they're like, oh yeah. And at the end of the year, we often ask them, what are some words that you remember about our class? And they all write English, please, because we say it so many times. But speaking classes are different performance tasks that we do. Right now, it's the beginning of the year, of course. So we just got finished with a poster session where they all had to make a poster to introduce themselves. So it's a 3-lesson performance task. The first lesson, we introduce what's going to happen to them and explain the poster session and what a poster session is. Throughout the year, we'll have 3 different poster sessions. So this is like not only just to introduce themselves, but also to kind of teach them what a poster session is. So when we do it again, it takes less setup. And then their second year and their third year in other classes, they do poster sessions as well. So it's kind of all interconnected all the way up. But then the second class, they're working on the computers, making their poster, and they have a conversation test. And conversation tests, we do pullouts, and the ALTs and myself and the teachers, we take turns grading them. And there's a reason for that too. But after we grade them, they go back in the room and keep working. And then the third session is the poster session itself. And so I have one class where we do like multiple rotations of poster sessions, but this particular class, we do 3 over the year. And so, but at the same time, since we have 2 sections during the week of the class, and the other one is a listening class. And in listening class, we work in stations, and there's 15 minutes rotation. So for one station, they work with the teacher out of a textbook, and the other station, they do reading practice. They read to the Google Doc, and the Google Doc writes down what they're saying. They have to practice getting Google to write what they mean for it to be saying. And then the third station is we watch the LO videos. I think Roger's gonna come in here later. He said he was coming, but
really good.
We watch LO. If you don't know LO, ELLLO, it's the best website ever. So yes, .org. It's got all of the best videos, just great videos with all kinds of different people. And I love it because we don't listen to any videos with speakers from your typical English speaking countries. We listen to different accents because the whole idea is for them to hear world English and hear different people. Right. But yeah. And so you'd wander into a listening class, or you'd wander into a speaking class. And the other thing we do is we do online interactions. So we'll do full class interactions where I have relationships with schools in different countries, and the kids will log in, and we'll go into a big Google Meet, and we'll meet the other school and talk with them. And then we'll move into breakout rooms. And in the breakout rooms, they kind of share whatever presentation they've prepared for that day, or just have a fun time chatting. So it's a really fun class.
Sounds better run than most of the university classes that I'm actually privy to watch sometimes, because not only do you have a lot of great ideas that I think should be done in a university communication class, you've got a multitude of staff helping you and working in tandem with you to get the information and the lesson to these kids.
I mean, most of it, like everyone's always like, wow, like how do you do all this stuff? But it's because we have a team. So there's, like I said, it's 6 classes divided into 12 sections and 2 for each class. But that means that there's 6 of us teachers involved, and then the 2 ALTs. So for any given one class, one time period, there's 4 people available to help when needed. I try not to stress our ALTs out because they also have team teaching and like regular English classes. So they have other like stuff going on in the school. So like maybe on a when they're working on the introduction activity, like for example, the poster session, we're teaching them how to use the computers and stuff. Like I tell the ALTs, like, you guys don't need to come on that day unless you want to. A lot of times they'd like to come to the classes just to like meet the kids and talk with them. So, but if they're stressed that week and they have a lot of other classes going on, they don't have to. But then during, for example, a poster session, in order to grade 40 kids in 50 minutes, you need your all 4 people. So
what was I going to say? There's a word there that you used that I just, if you don't mind, I'd like to sort of just follow up on. The ALTs have their, quotation marks, air quotes, regular English classes, and your class then you would not classify as a regular English class. It's not something that the other JTEs do.
The other JTEs do. Five other JTEs teach the class with me. However, that's so everyone teaches somewhere between 6 to 18 sections a week in their schedule. And so, like, for example, if a teacher teaches one GI of this class with me, it's called GI, Global Interaction. So if I say GI, that's what I mean.
Okay.
If they teach one section of GI with me, that's only 2 of their 16 to 18
Can I just
sections.
ask just a quick one? A section is probably what we would call ichikoma, one class, 1 50-minute block.
Yes.
Okay,
I'm
so
sorry. My
no, no, it's
American
all right. It's
vernacular,
okay.
I call them all sections.
No problem. No problem. So just one block, 50 minutes. That's a section. Okay.
Mhm.
Got it.
Right. So you have what we have seven or six classes in a day, depending on the day. So that
Mhm.
means there's up to 35-ish, 34, 35-ish sections in a week. And
Mhm.
so it's really very interesting because I have 16 plus 2 meetings plus another couple things. So it fills up. But um when I was in the States, I taught 7 classes a day, 5 days a week. And
Wow.
so I was teaching like 35. And so all my friends here, they're like, oh my gosh, I have to teach 18 sections this year. What am I?
And there she goes again.
You can't talk to me.
All right. Yeah. 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 No problem. I understand.
So
Like before I would.
sorry. Can you still hear me at least?
I still hear you fine. Still hear you fine. Still hear you fine. Are you on Wi-Fi or are you on a LAN cable?
I am on a pocket Wi-Fi.
Oh, you're on
This is
pocket
all I
Wi-Fi.
get.
Okay.
Yeah,
There
I'll
you
put it in the window. There we go. Maybe that's a little bit better.
All right. So yeah, the discrepancy between probably what you are having to deal with in America and what the heaven that you deal with in Japan. Um, Actually, that's the separate. Well, okay, let's pursue that thing again. So the regular classes are more towards what I was describing. Would you think at the beginning of this conversation as being more sort of grammatically oriented, a little bit more passive education, and for the tests then? So that basically does still happen at your school.
Oh yes. So I would like if I was teaching in the States, I would call my class a mandatory elective. All of the kids who are first year come in and take this class, but it is not a class that is a mixed course. It is not a course that is that other kids at other schools are taking. It is we have a thing called the Global Studies program, and it's part of that. And so it's a special, for lack of a better term. But the kids are, of course, taking the other classes, the other courses through the MEX curriculum. They are taking lots more sections than are in my class during the week of English. They have every grade has 2 different types of English class besides my class. Like, yeah, they're studying grammar and they're reading books and they're doing all kinds of other stuff in other classes.
I would
Definitely.
imagine too that your classroom probably incorporates a lot of your knowledge of digital tech and educational tech, because
We
that's what I know you well as. What
we're very googly.
we're very okay. There were
We're
actually
very googly.
I wanted to get a couple friends in when I told them that oh, Erin Noxon is coming to OTJtv. Oh really? Oh, that's too bad. I really wanted to go because they know that you know your googly stuff. And but unfortunately they couldn't make it as like this particular Saturday. They had something else to do. But just
Sorry.
speaking of all the googly stuff, um your school is still on its 5-year Giga schedule, the GIGA schedule, or are you like one of the schools that have already finished like their whole 5-year cycle, or are you in the middle of your Giga cycle?
I don't know what you mean by a 5-year cycle of Giga.
I was under the impression that each BOE or each prefecture, depending on what jurisdiction you're talking about, got its orders from the Ministry of Education to begin implementing their version of the Giga School project on their terms.
Ah,
And that it was supposed to be done over a 5-year schedule. These devices would last, they would have a shelf life or a use life or a class life of 5 years. The teachers would start to warm up to the whole idea and have something good and executing and running smoothly by the third or the fourth year. That was my perception. I was kind of hoping that you might be able to bring some light on that. Or basically, how did you find executing whatever implementation you had of the Giga project in your school?
so Giga is just like an initiative to get tech, and it's carried out differently at different levels. I think maybe what you're thinking of is the junior high school or elementary school levels, maybe because at least I know here in Kyoto, all of the city elementary schools all got devices, and all the kids got devices, and it all got pushed out. And that also happened at the junior high schools as well. However, everyone forgets high school is not compulsory. Because high school is not compulsory, it falls into different levels of jurisdiction, I guess you could say, depending on the BOEs. And so it's different. So 2 years ago, when we really started doing this, because it was supposed to like really be full implementation in 2024, right? But then it all got pushed back as soon as Corona hit, and then it was 2021 go. And so like my own kids who are in elementary got devices, and junior high schools all got devices and stuff. But for high school, at least in Kyoto, it was based on what the schools wanted to do and take initiative for. My school is different though, because we were a super global high school, which is another program. And that program is one of the 5-year recontracted programs through Mix. And we started that 8 years ago or whatever.
Right.
I think 8 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And when that started, that's when we became a Google school, because we needed a way to have the kids build like kind of a portfolio of their work throughout the years. My principal, the principal we had then and the principal we have now, all my principals are amazing, which is one of the reasons I love my job. But they're always like super supportive and willing to like take the extra step to do really cool stuff. So we started, I think 2014, we got our Google domain, and we've been using it ever since. I'm the Google admin at my school, and all the kids have accounts. But with Giga, there was a decision of what device to get. I think every year more high schools are starting. I want to say that last year, 2021, there were 6 or 7 high schools that started. And then like every year there's going to start more high schools, and they're starting it with the first years, and then it goes through and it pushes up. So like I felt really bad for my second years and third years last year, because all the first years got iPads, because they decided iPads were going to be what we were getting. So all the first year students who are now second year students, they all have iPads, and like the upper graders have nothing, and they're just like, why 1 year later? But we have lots of Chromebooks though, because we were a super global high school. And we've gotten several other grants to buy Chromebooks. We like another thing that we do in my section is write grants. Like we never stop writing grants to get more tech and stuff. So we've worked really hard to get the stuff we have.
What is a super global high school?
So super global high school program was, so the MEX has a lot of super something programs. There's super science is probably the most well-known one right now. There was a super English high school back in the day. Super global has kind of fallen by the wayside. You weren't allowed to recontract for it. Whereas super science, you can keep recontracting for it. We're actually in our 3rd recontract of super science at this point. But the super global program they're basically all research and development programs. And MEX will kind of approve the application. The school has to put in like these extensive applications. It's like super grant application. And you put in all this information and show what you're going to do. And then you get the money, and they give you money every year. And every year you have to put in your report, what you did. We made these really thick, big reports. The super global program kind of changed as it went through. It was like supposed to be a certain amount of money, but then I think it didn't gain traction and popularity. And then it was like less and less money each year. They kind of just changed it as it went through. But I really loved it because it was the birth of this course that I teach now. And then after it ended, everybody loved this course so much that they were like, we're keeping this, and this is going to be a functioning feature of our school into the future. And I think it makes our school very attractive amongst the other schools. So, but yeah, Super Global program is I got off topic, a 5-year basically research and development program where MEX gives the school a whole bunch of money. The school does what they said they were going to do, proves that they did what they were going to do, and shows all this amazing, cool stuff that they built. And part of it, like part of the thing is you have to release your curriculum online. And so like our website, like my course and a bunch of other stuff is all there. And yeah, we made good stuff and then we can share it with other people. That's like the beauty of those programs.
Okay. We'll continue with that conversation after. Just remind everyone that in Facebook, some people are already starting to type comments. Thank you very much. Hi, Alex. Hi, Adam. If you are in the room with us, like Watanabe Sensei, please feel free to turn on your camera and feel free to type something in chat or raise your hand if you want to ask a question directly to Erin about any of the topics we've touched upon or anything else that comes to mind. Do you feel then that at least from what you see of the implementation of Giga, either at your school or around you, that it's something that, shall we say, is a success, a mild success, something less than a success? Do you think that it was a good push for MEX to go for it?
Oh gosh, it's so broad and so varied everywhere. I don't think that I can like comment on it like everywhere, but I can say that getting tech into schools is the first hurdle. Of course, you have to be able to get students the devices, get them like into their hands, and then, but the other half of it is getting them into the teachers' hands and then training the teachers how to use it in their classes. That's like the biggest, that's like what my dissertation was all about, was professional development for teachers for technology. So I do a lot of stuff at my school. I don't know what happens at other schools, but I think at our school, we have enough because we've been doing the Google stuff for a while now. So we have many teachers who know how to do different things. So we kind of have like almost like a PLC of like teachers at our school who know what's going on, but I don't know what the school culture is like at other schools. I do know that my own kids' school, when the kids are out for corona related absences or whatever, they get to bring home a device and they get to go on Zoom and watch their class. And I know that wouldn't have happened before.
Right.
So I don't know exactly. My window of view is only into my school, and I already think my school is awesome at doing all the tech stuff that we do. So yeah.
Good. Elizabeth, I'm glad you turned on your camera because I'm going to invite you to ask the question yourself to Erin. If I can just make sure that you're able to unmute yourself. Hang on just a second. It's a one quick button to push. Okay, now you can unmute yourself. Ask your question directly to Erin. Hi, but you're still muted.
Got it. Okay. Hi, good to see you. Thanks so much for doing this presentation. My quick question is, do I understand correctly that Sell High, Super English Learning High School, has been retired?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I was talking about Super English, the Super English High School program.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know of any Super English High School programs right now. I could imagine I could quick Google it here. But I do not know.
Okay, my impression from limited experience, I worked at Sell High, Super English Learning High School, but that's a long time ago. It's like 10 years ago. And the school in which I teach now was formerly a Sell High.
On Wikipedia, it stops in 2009.
Okay, noted. Thank you very much.
Yeah. I have not. They kind of like everything kind of went to super science. Like all the money seems to be in the super science high schools right now. Like I said, the super global program like came and then went, and like there's still some super global high schools and super global junior high schools and programs out there right now, but they're like on the tail end. Like they applied in maybe the last couple of years that it was available, and now they're kind of wrapping up their programs, and I don't think it'll come back out.
So are you still on the super global program yourself, your school?
Us? No, we went through, they're usually 5-year programs. And so we started 8 years ago. So we ended 3 years ago. It was done. So
that meant that there was a bit, not a big drop, but at least there was a drop in your budgetary range to actually do what you want to do.
So there was like a what's a better term for this? Like a dip year where it was really bad, like the year after, like because we had university students coming in as like TAs and like doing like these conversation things with the kids. And we also have in the second year, we have a big presentation program that the kids do. And like we had guests come in and then there's like, oh, sorry, we can't give you travel money anywhere anymore. Don't you just want to come for free? Nobody wants to come. But then we started applying for other grants. And once you can get a little, but like that's a lot of work too, because it's kind of like the same thing. Like you apply for the grant, the company or whatever gives you the money, and then you have to like churn out all of these reports. And so like you're trying to do the programs and then you're trying to put out all the reports. And so it's like, do I really have time to do all of this? But you can do all the cool programs.
Is that something you think is that would hinder some full-time teachers at high schools from getting involved in these programs because of all the paperwork that they have to do?
Yeah, there's a lot of people who don't want to do all the stuff because it's a lot of work. Like, and I can just totally understand it. And I don't want to do it a lot of the time. I luckily work with amazing people though, who I'm like, hey, let's apply for this program. And they're like, okay. And I kind of motivate them into doing it. And then we do great stuff. Like I work with some like just the best. And so they're like, all right, let's do it. And then we'll go and we'll get it done. But it's a lot of work. We work really hard for this stuff. It's not like it's, oh, this is so easy, let me tell you how great it is. No, I spend a lot of time typing things.
Is the ability to make these grant applications limited to a type of school? Is there a pre-qualification that you have to meet, or just about anybody who wants to put pen to paper can make at least the application?
Yes, a lot of the big companies have grant programs that you can apply for different things. Panasonic, I think, has one. Mitsubishi has one. There are varieties of big companies out there who want to give money to education for programs. Some of them are yearly. Some of them are multiple year. There's also kakenhi for teachers can get, high school teachers can get kakenhi. My thing that holds me back from doing the kakenhi is because whereas university people can apply in English, like I can only apply in Japanese. And I don't have time for that right now. But and it's not as much money as some of these the company programs are. But yeah, there are programs out there, but it's intimidating. Like it's really intimidating to have to write all of this stuff and then prove all of this stuff. And then like for some of the programs, like you have to put on an event or you have to publish some things. And like I spent a lot of my time when I was teaching in the States though, writing grants. And that's something I ended up getting into because there's no money in education in the United States, like at all. So you have to get grants to do anything. I don't know now. See, now though, we have, because of Giga, see, that is a benefit of Giga, because of Giga and all the kids getting their own devices. I don't think I need to write as many grants for technology anymore. It's going to be writing grants to get guests and for some of our international stuff that we do. The tech is here now, which is nice. So
did you have any trouble? Not trouble, but was it difficult setting up that international school that you have the kids talk to? What are they, near peers, or they actually are the same grade, same age in the other schools that the kids talk to?
It's different ages. We work with schools in Singapore and the United States and Australia and India and Taiwan and couple other countries. I hope they don't watch this video and they won't know that I'm leaving them out. But our school has a program to Singapore. And when everything shut down is for Corona is really when we started like getting into it very deeply. I emailed all the schools we usually go to and said, hey, you guys want to try doing something online? Because we can't meet face-to-face anytime soon. And they were like, all right, well, what do you think we want to do? And once I got coordinated with them, I started finding other people. There was a former ALT at our school who went back home to their country. And I was like, hey, you want to do something with your students? Because I knew she was teaching Japanese. And then another teacher I found in another place, and then other people who know other people, and we just started networking. And then we'll do like a couple test calls where I'll call them and we'll kind of set up like exactly what we want to do and when is a good time. It takes a lot of like logistical legwork to coordinate it all. I have to make up spreadsheets and spreadsheets of schedules. I finally got a nice one this year that I've got like all the time zones on the top, and then you can just scroll down and choose like your place where you want to join us. But it changes because then our schedule changes because I can't steal classes from other times in the day, and it's a mess, but it's nice to do.
And it was difficult because you were trying to schedule synchronous events, or were you doing mostly trying to get these kids to do asynchronous communication? Synchronous.
They're all synchronous events. We go into the Google Meet, they go into breakout rooms, they have a great time. But it's then the problems that can go wrong in synchronous events, like at the beginning our Wi-Fi wasn't great enough, and now our Wi-Fi is finally good. And like there's certain schools that can't use Google Meet, but they could use Zoom, but then this doesn't work. And then there's another, like Australia is really restrictive. There's only like, at least in Queensland, the one place where we were talking with, they could only use this one particular system that was their system. They couldn't use Zoom, they couldn't use Google, nothing. So that was fun, but we figured it out. So you just keep working at it.
One thing that I can suggest, I don't know if you know this, a couple weeks ago, my guest on OTJtv was Eric Hagley. Do you know Eric?
Okay. Yes, I do. He got me in touch with one of the schools in India.
Good. So, yes. So you already know that, because one of the side discussions that we had while he was here was the question about, well, you're mostly dealing with university kids. Have you got something that high schools can participate in? And because you're mostly dealing with high schools, Eric seemed like, well, we don't really have that going right now. And I thought, but you already know him, so you know that there's a potential demand for it. And the way that he works, probably it would be really interesting to take what you've already built and maybe somehow create or use that as a foundation, perhaps with the IVE, because that would be even cooler. Like, I don't know, maybe in one country, the kids there in that high school speak English at least as well as some kids in some universities, and being able to do near peer communication would probably still be fun for a lot of these kids.
It's a really neat thing. We had a university in Colombia last year who we talked to undergraduate students who want to be EFL teachers in the future. And it was really neat because their teachers were asking all my students like all these neat questions about, like, as an EFL learner, like what do you want in your teachers, and like what was the best class you had? And my kids were like, oh, well, okay. And then they were like, okay, tell us about Colombia. Like, I just had a really neat thing. They're only like because we usually talk with other high schools, but I get they were about 4 or 5 years older. But just really just people being connected across the world with an interesting commonality and just having a nice conversation. It was neat.
Yeah. Want to go into a different part of the conversation with you, if you don't mind. It was one of the other questions on the poster. When I had Dr. Charles Brown on here a few weeks ago, we were talking a little bit about how his new textbook that he had just published looks at the whole issue about critical thinking, which is an important issue that, at least at university, a lot of university instructors feel is a skill that's lacking in a lot of our first year students coming into university. And at least as far as I know, last year, 2021, was when MEXT brought in a new emphasis on bringing critical thinking into not just as a sort of vague stated goal, but they changed their curriculum, they changed the testing procedures, the testing standards, so to get the teachers, to get the students to start doing some critical thinking. What are you seeing on the boots on the ground level on that?
So I hear a lot of active learning has been like the keywords, like that keep getting echoed over the past 10 years. But the big thing right now is that the what is it, the 2012 curriculum. Whenever my kids were first years, we finally moved all the way to where, because the MEX programs start out in first year elementary, right? And then they push all the way through to high school as the wave goes on. So this year's, my first years are the ones who are starting the new curriculum as it's come all the way across.
Okay.
So all of the, I think elementary schools had, all the can-do lists, and the can-do lists are going on. Like they're here now, they're here in high school. And so we have our grading is all different this year. Actually, our grading system is all different. We have to weight everything different. We had to redesign all of our syllabi to kind of go along with this new way. And basically there's 3 categories, and it looks a lot like Bloom's taxonomy. And it's knowledge, just your basic knowledge, and then expression, and then your engagement and attitude on the other end. And so it's interpreted differently in different places in different classes. But the idea is that you should more heavily weight that expression part, that the part where the kids are having to justify and explain and show what they're actually thinking and show what they're actually, their deep thought, as opposed to the knowledge. And that basic knowledge section should be weighted less. I think as more teachers get more training and it keeps pushing forward, because again, it's MEX guidelines are just that, they're guidelines, and then the schools have to prove how they're following them. It's like benchmarks. Sure. So each school and each classroom and each teacher all the way on down is interpreting it in their own way and doing their best to get the kids through. So it's gonna, as teachers are trained more in how to do all of these things, which we have trainings during the year, not as many. Like I actually had a lot more training time when I was in the States. I feel like teachers here, especially like really busy public school teachers, we just don't get as much time to do training. However, there is a push for training. We actually have a whole section this year with my vice principals coming around and like offering all these trainings. So, but it's not mandatory because we already work as much as we work already. But for those teachers who take advantage of it, there's a lot of really good programs out there now this year. And I think it's known. I mean, teachers have to get training to get better and to know what to do. So the more people do it and the more it's pushed and the more it goes through, the better it'll get. But yeah.
So you would say that right now it's just way too early to be able to say anything about whether it's being implemented properly or not.
Oh gosh, properly is such a loaded term. Right. It's going to be different, and it's going to look different, and it's going to be different at every school because every teacher is different, and every, and you're gonna come across great exemplars and schools that are, have really great programs and they're doing really cool stuff. But then, that the other problem is that teachers get moved, so then you're going to get moved. But one of the reasons that they move teachers to other schools is so that the teachers who are really great at these programs can go spread those programs to other schools. So it's the, I don't know, the fertilizer, it's out there to grow the amazingness. But it's just, it takes time. Education is a cyclical structure. The people who become teachers are the people who enjoyed education, and so then therefore teach the same way they were taught, and that doesn't meet all of our learners. And so you have to break that paradigm and learn more and be different and be dynamic, and the more we do it, the better it'll get.
That's a bit of a separate question that I've always had, because when I heard about the fact that teachers are moved along within the jurisdiction of their particular BOE to a different school, sometimes because they're really good, it made me wonder, is that actually a good thing? I mean, yes, I understand the reason. Okay, you want to make sure that there's fairness, and this really great teacher gets to teach somewhere else, so then that district gets to take advantage of their skills. On the other hand, then you're forcing that teacher to, like, create new connections, establish new human relationships with different people. That, of course, takes away from her ability to focus specifically on the classroom, which she was already doing, where she was already settled. Now she's got to resettle, and that takes away time.
Yep.
So in your experience, is it a better thing? Maybe you're probably just going to answer case by case. Is it a better thing to let a really great teacher sit where she is and do what she's doing really well and keep doing it and then move when she wants to move? Or is it better that the district sort of asks her to, no, it's your time. Go, you can do it. Go on to the new school, please.
I'm gonna say that it's best to leave her there because I don't want to
Yeah.
leave my school.
Yeah. So
But,
purely from a selfish reasoning. Yeah.
purely selfish reasons. Like I don't want to move. No, there's much to be said for either way. And I've taught in both systems, right? Because I taught in the States. And when you're in the States, your principal is the one that hires you. And as long as you're good at that school, as long as you're good with that principal and you don't feel like moving, you can teach there 30, 40 years. That's unless they close the school or something goes down, like you have a permanent job, like you get your house, you can grow your whole family, you don't got to go anywhere.
Right.
That creates this stagnant mess sometimes where a school and that school culture is just so far out of whack with what everything else is going on. And it's just so different in a different land, and it's just weird. So the movement of teachers to different school kind of spreads the ideas around, but at the same time, like you said, like everything's kind of always shifting and in motion. So like I can see the benefits of both, and I don't know what is best. I just know that neither one is great. But I don't know what you could do. I mean, if you don't move people, then they stay. But if they stay, then you don't move them. So it's
got a couple comments from people in the Facebook chat thread. I'll read them out. First of all, Joel Laurier, good to see you up and about, my friend. And thank you for the comment. He writes, great teachers resettling can also be seen as a punishment for them. They then try to be less great. He continues, great teachers then tend to be sent to less productive schools. That was in two parts, and in between those two parts was something from Alex Burke. She writes, yes, the mentor teachers need to be in the training process as a professional development process, but that could be confrontational for educators who are 35 years into the process. Elizabeth, you turned on your camera maybe to make a comment, or?
I got the mic open.
Go.
Okay. Just to counter that whole idea about moving teachers, where I am, I don't want to go. I love doing what I'm doing, and I'm almost 10 years at it. So two observations. One, when I worked for directly for Board of Education, where I was assisting the Board of Education with ALT leadership, heartbreaking situation. The most fantastic, talented teacher that I got to work with got moved out of her school into the Board of Education as an administrator for a couple of years. The tears, the community crying, the kids crying, her crying, it was devastating. She was in her element and finally succeeding, like really getting a strong handle on how to guide her elementary grade 6 classes in Kokugo. She was fantastic at teaching Japanese. And as a very rusty English speaker, being able to focus on communicative purpose in her classroom, her kids thrived. And she got pulled out, and it was just heartbreaking. And for me, on my side, it took, when I first came into this high school where I'm teaching now, it's junior, senior combined. It was happy fun time, as my former colleague used to refer to it. It was Eikaiwa happy fun time. And over the last almost decade, me and my coworkers have turned it into a communication program where the students are actually able to, we're using the can-dos, we're teaching communicative competence, our kids are able to produce oral and written texts at a level about like, we get them up to like B1, B2 on the CEFR scale, which is new to me because I'm from Canada. We Canada language benchmarks, right? So they're comparable, right? But yeah, I would hate to be ripped out of my context. I mean, never mind my employment situation. I feel confident and competent where I am. I would not want to go. I feel like I'm on a roll now.
Are teachers afraid of having this flopped down upon them? They're not even in the consultation process as to whether or not they're going to be moved.
They
right?
are.
Oh, they are.
Yeah. It's not just a sudden thing. I mean, imagine if they're not as communicative, there might be sudden, but yeah, they're called in, they have conversations, stuff goes down. But you know, especially when you're the younger, newer teachers, like that's a whole, how do I say it politically correct? It's like a power dynamic thing, you know, like it's just your principal and you're getting called in and the principal's like, well, there's another space and you're probably going to get moved to that. You know, how do you feel about this and this and that? Like, I imagine if you're really, I know when I was a young teacher, like I could talk to like my administrators very easily and very well. Like you probably feel pressured. But you know, they do know there's the month of March is a hard month. You can stay, you can try to stay. We fill out all kinds of forms because there's an intent form that goes around in the beginning of February where you have to fill out, you know, what you want to do, if you're open for transfer, if you would like to stay, if you'd really, really like to stay, or if you're open. Some people are actually open for transfer, depending. It's like our school, some schools are a lot of work. We do a lot of stuff. And there's other schools that are quote unquote easier schools. And so some people are like, yeah, I can't do this anymore. I'm going to burn out. And so they're like, yeah, I'm open for transfer. You don't have to, but I'd like to talk about it. And so you fill out all this paperwork in February, and then they start calling you in for meetings in March. And basically in March, like administrators walk through the room and I'm like watching them. I'm like, they're going to walk up to me. They better not walk up. Oh, they walked over to her. Okay.
Thank God.
Ooh, like, cause I don't want to have the meeting because I circled the I really want to stay here box and then I'm done. But yeah, there's some to be said. I mean, there is, for younger teachers in particular, the policy is to not leave them at their first school. They want them to go out. So like when you go to your first school, you're there for somewhere between 2 and 5 years. And then you kind of get your legs teaching. You have mentor teachers there that kind of get you all in good shape. And then they send you to a place based on what you've shown as your skills in those couple of years and what you're good at and what you like to do. And then you go. I mean, and some of it depends on like, actually a lot of it depends on the sports clubs too. Like, if there's like a champion kendo person who is now teaching, they're going to put that teacher at the sports high school because like that person is going to like teach those kids. So yeah, there's so many moving parts because, every person is unique and they all have their great things they bring to their job. But yeah, I do have, like what Elizabeth was talking about, I have several friends who were awesome and then had to go to the district office. And you're like, no, actually I have one friend, he's been there now for several years. And like, I keep waiting for him to come back. I'll text him online and be like, did you ask to leave? He's like, I will come back soon. He's just like waiting to get out. But he's doing good things there though, because he's great. So he's going to do great things wherever he goes. So I don't know the right answer. I just know what I want.
yeah. Stick with the selfish reasoning. I think that always works. In the nitty gritty, that always works. Alex Burke made a couple of points, probably to both of you ladies. This applies. She says, maybe that teacher was identified as having management potential. We were talking about the teacher that got shot up into administration. It would be a development process. And she continues, as Erin said, opting to leave the classroom would be a consultation process, but they would have to demonstrate how upset they are at changing roles. It would be rude not to appear to be upset at leaving people behind. Just going on about the MEXT curriculum, and just one of the other questions that we were stating about pulling back the curtain on Japanese schools. At least from your point of view, Erin, what would you like? And you have a little bit more contact probably with university teachers than most high school teachers in Japan do. But what would you like more university teachers to know about what you high school teachers actually do or face, or the disadvantages that you have that are kind of put on your shoulders as a responsibility unfairly, and would like to have university teachers know that that's really not our fault. We can't really do much about that.
Oh, so many things. I don't know. I don't know. We're doing our best. We never stop. I was actually talking to Jose about this earlier, but like I used to teach junior high school. And when I taught junior high school, anytime I met high school teachers, they were like, what are you guys doing? Because these junior high schoolers get to us and they don't know anything. And so then I meet university professors who are like, what are you high school teachers doing? They don't know anything. And so I'm like, wait. I know. But I guess if I had to talk short and I could only say one thing, I would say the most important thing is this. Have you ever taught a kid something and then you went back to talk with them about it a few weeks later and they had no idea what you're talking about?
Oh, it's like 5 days later. 5 days later. 5 days later.
All right.
Remember what I said in that
How
lecture?
do you expect them to remember stuff that I taught them 3 years before they got to you? I hope the beautiful essence of what I gave to them in my communicative English class is there. And my goal, my number one goal in class is that when they leave, they have a reduction in the risk feeling they feel when they open their mouth and speak in English. Like that is what I want them to have. I don't know if they're going to remember how to properly cite sources on the backs of their posters. I don't know if they're going to remember how to go to Creative Commons and get the right image. I don't know if they're going to remember anything that we do. We do a whole program where they do a poster research into another country. I don't know if they're going to remember all that stuff, any of it. But if they can get on in life and have a more relaxed experience whenever they open their mouth to speak in English, that's like the ultimate goal. When I was in high school, I was in an environmental science program, and I don't remember everything that I learned, but I know that I came out of it feeling that I have an environmental ethic that I carry around with me in everything that I do and everywhere I go. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I know they don't remember lots of stuff when they get to you guys. But it's because they're human beings and they have a lot of other stuff going on, and they're going to forget facts. They're going to forget things, but they'll remember feelings and experiences. So
Erin, I'm sorry. Elizabeth, sorry. We'll start with you. Sorry.
It's okay. I respond to Erin also because my brother's name is Erin.
Yeah, but you're not Erin. You're Elizabeth. Why do you respond to Erin in either case?
I'm the child.
Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. So just to respond to that, I think I've mentioned this before in other OTJ talks and also with other online discussions. My partner and I are a bit ancient and we've been around a while. He was a student in one of the early cohorts of the JET program.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
He was a high school student when the JET program first came in. Mm-hmm. And when I asked him, remember, this is a person who never opens his mouth to speak English, except as a joke. He has no confidence maintaining a conversation in English. And we talked about, I began to draw him out, like, tell me about your experience of high school days in English. And he says, oh, wow, we had this American guy who came over, and it was before the JET program. And this guy, he was amazing. And I had the best scores in the class. And I said, okay, so you have the best scores. Show me your communication. Hi, Jiko Shokai right now. And he's like, and I thought, is he just too proud, right? He's too proud to speak. He doesn't have the confidence. A couple of weeks ago, I sent him a manuscript that needs translation from English to Japanese, and the language that he can comprehend from this text is fantastic. He also has a lot of confidence with a dictionary, so he began to gloss all the words that he was half competent with. Like, I know that word, I heard that word before, but I don't know what it means. And when I asked him about it, like, how come you don't speak English, but you have this huge vocabulary and you understand grammar, like difficult grammar in my text? And he's like, I had this great experience in school. And I really think about that with my own kids. Like, how do you foster a really positive environment where they're not afraid of another language, multiple languages? Because I drop on them Spanish and French sometimes, just as an aside, never as a language teaching point. But that is a huge thing. Like, they've got they've got modules in their heads for being able to comprehend grammar or vocabulary later on when they have a need for it. Anyway, that's a long preamble, but a long aside. But yeah, it gave me a lot of confidence that what we're doing actually does make a difference. And the capacity for language learning, not necessarily demonstrated language ability right now. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure, makes plenty of
those
sense.
experiences. Yeah. You have those experiences and you don't remember the content. I mean, and a lot of like my kids too, that's why we used to do, when we did conversation tests, they would know all of the topics ahead of time. And then it just got really formulaic. And so I allowed them for the first 2 conversation tests to know the topic. And then we get to the second half of the year and we go, or actually second semester in August. And then we're like, oh, sorry, you don't know the topics anymore. We're going to give you a slip of paper. You can sit and look at it for 2 minutes and then you got to go have a conversation about it. And they're like, but then by the end, we're like, okay, now you don't know the topic at all. And you don't have any time. You're going to walk into the room. We're going to tell you what to talk about and you just talk about it. Okay. And they're like, but because you walk them like hand in hand up to that point, they can do it. And I hope that in their back of their brains, 10 years later, if they've never talked in English since then, I hope they know that, oh wait, I know it's in there somewhere. I can do this. And they can try to have that conversation, even though they don't want to, because they know that they can. So it's about knowing that you can do something if you have to.
Sure.
Even if you don't want to.
Elizabeth, go.
No, I was just going to say, like, my guy, when he's really stuck and I'm not available and he needs to have a conversation with somebody who does not speak Japanese, he can fumble through, and then I do something terrible. I whisper in his ear.
Oh no!
What he needs. And
isn't that what we tell our students to not do to the student we're talking to at the time? Okay,
listen here. I think this is a really cool strategy. I don't know where I picked this up. When my kids come to the staff room and they come to my desk or they come to someone else's desk and they're fumbling through trying to say something in English because someone's told them to do that, I go over and I whisper in their ear the correct form and their eyes light up. Oh my God, I know what that means. I can produce that. And they immediately produce it. And then they have a sense of pride. And then when they're done that communication, I'll take them aside and say, hey, can you do it again? And frequently they can. Like, I know there's that memory issue. It's a short-term memory issue, but they can reproduce it almost always correctly immediately after. And then a couple days later, I'll go to them, hey, do you remember when you were in the staff room last week and you said something to so-and-so sensei in English? Can you do it? Can you repeat it again? And they often can. So how much of it is rote learning? There's a lot of rote learning required. And then brain cells have to connect somewhere. And it just takes time, right? Anyway, I'm very proud of my kids because I frequently whisper in their ears when they're stuck. Because I know they have the disparate parts. They have some knowledge of syntax they have some knowledge of vocabulary. They can't necessarily put together the syntax. Yeah.
Usually when somebody whispers in my ear, it usually comes out as something like, "You have spinach between your teeth." And I go, thank you. Thank you for telling me that. We got a comment from, I don't know if I've ever heard this person's name in OTJ before, but welcome, Sean Han Solo. I'm just going to pretend that's actually your name, Sean Han Solo. And he says, or she says, probably he, it's SEAN. I think the biggest thing that truly has to be developed in Japan in order to actually increase English ability would be to create an actual phonics program. I teach at a private JHS HS, and kids don't actually learn phonics. Technically, phonics is in the textbook, but they do not learn it. So I'm sure that applies to a lot of stuff, probably spaced vocabulary, learning phonics, fluency, my favorite. The one question I wanted to ask after I ask this of you, Erin, is this. It is now past 1 hour. And I promised you, that I would only be taking an hour of your time. But if you don't mind sticking around for a little bit, would you mind sticking around for a little bit more?
That's cool. We can keep talking.
Okay. One thing that I wanted to ask is, okay, so there are all these things that, you want university teachers to know that it isn't my fault, but is there something that you see perhaps in university classes that you go, why are you guys reinventing the wheel, or why are you guys doing that? Why don't you leverage what we do in high school in your English university classes? Is there something you see us doing in our classes that you think is a bit of a waste of time because you've already covered that? Or is there something else that you'd like us to know that would actually make our lives easier in that sense?
I have no idea what goes on in university English classes. And I think that is the answer right there. I don't know what you guys teach in your classes. I have never been in university classes. I don't know what is going on, but I doubt most of you guys know. And I just told you what happens in my class before I told you you did not know.
No.
So I think there needs to be some crossover. I would love it if university teachers came to my classroom whenever you would like to. By the way, if anybody watching would like to visit my school, please contact me. I will find a way. I'm sure I can get you into the school to watch a couple classes to see what goes on. I would love to facilitate that.
And vice versa. You want to come down to Fukuoka to watch what I teach? Yeah.
Exactly. So that's what needs to happen more, because I'm sure people are reinventing the wheel. I often wonder if what more could we do? I mean, there's not enough time in the day, but that would help so much, because I don't know what's happening, and nobody knows what else is happening anywhere else. And that's the whole problem. I mean, within a school, you can try and make it so that, the first year, second year, and third year teachers know what's going on within that environment, so that, someone in second year isn't reteaching the same stuff that they did in first year. But outside of their bubble, how are you gonna know?
Yeah.
You can look at the mixed benchmarks and see what is said that we teach, but you don't know how I taught it or what I did. So
I think there are two rows or two spans of potential communication that aren't really being done right now. And one of them is vertical, from K6 to junior to senior to university education. So that sort of up and down discussion between all levels, whether they're native English teachers or they're Japanese teachers of English, that communication isn't being done. And then there's one that's horizontal, where the I don't want to say native, the expert level speakers of English are not speaking as much as they should to the Japanese teachers of English. There's a lot of non-communication going on. And as you've just pointed out, even within a city, there aren't enough high school teachers going spontaneously and sincerely to university model class. Well, I wouldn't say model classes, to university classes to exchange information. You're getting these model classes, where the university says, oh, come to our open campus and come see a model English class. And of course, it's rehearsed. The students know exactly what to do, and they've already filled in the blanks. So you're getting basically a fake class. where what you want to do is basically have mentorship across levels. The high school teachers are mentoring the university teachers, showing them this has already been covered. You guys are boring the students by, you know how in every Kaiwa textbook, it's inevitably, especially with bad textbooks, the first chapter is a self-introduction. Inevitably. And like, how many times, if I was a kid, I've done this in junior high school 1, 2, 3, senior high school 1, 2, 3, the first 2 classes that are about introducing yourself. How many more times are you going to teach me how to introduce myself? And that sort of thing has to be discussed so that then we know what you guys did in your corner of the effort. And so we don't end up repeating that. So even other Fukuoka teachers who might be seeing this, communicate with me, and I'd love to go see your class, and I'd love you to come see my class. And I think that's the sort of communication we need to do.
Definitely. I mean, that is what is missing. And like you were talking about doing self-introductions. And so like we literally just did self-introduction, but make it into something different. Like the reason we do it as a poster session is because it's more for the kids than it is for us. So they have this 20 minutes of time to wander around. And we tell them at the beginning, we're like, if you're going to take advantage of this, go talk to the people you haven't talked to yet in this class. Go meet new people. And so then it's more for them to meet each other than for them to like prove that their English skill is great to us. Most of the interaction they have in our class is with each other more than it is with the teachers, like through the conversation tests and everything.
And just before we go to Elizabeth, and not only that, but it's an innovative approach, because these kids are picking up poster presentation skills, which are actually academic skills. Elizabeth, sorry, Elizabeth, one more thing just before you open up. Anybody else who wants to open up their camera and or raise their hands or write something in the chat or open up their microphones, please come and join us. Let's have a bit more of a conversation feel to this. Elizabeth, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. So this year, once again, in senior high school first year, with both our 6-year kids and our new intake kids, we did self-introductions, but the purpose, I'm really clear with our team, we worked this out together. The purpose of that is twofold. One is diagnostic for us, so we can hear the kids freely. We don't give any instruction about how to introduce themselves. They simply find a number of points they're going to talk about. And then what I did this year was in the second lesson, they have to introduce themselves in pairs, then groups, then mingle. And I told them, keep your paper. And for the third lesson, once again, they would find someone different and again perform their self-introduction. And the benefit to my mind was from my own language learning experience, when I was in high school and university, learning another language, to hear other speakers freely talking like that gave me an inkling of what I could say. People who were above my level, slightly above my level in terms of pronunciation or grammar, and I could lift some of the expressions that they were using. And one of my explicit instructions to the kids after they were done their Jiko Shokai was, did you hear something you didn't know how to say yet? And the kids put their hands up. So like, I think you have to really think, if you're using self-introductions at the beginning of a course, the social purpose is probably number one, the diagnostic for the teacher. And then you got to think like it's more and more input. As long as you do it socially and interactively, it's more and more input for the kids each time. So like on the opposite side, I saw a university teacher present me with a lesson plan that was identical to something I do with my high school kids. And the linguistic goal was exactly the same. So yeah, you're quite right. Like there's a disconnect, like kids are just doing the same old. But you got to think like, what's your purpose? And being explicit with the students, this is the purpose. This is why we're doing this again. But anyway, that's just my take on what could be the purpose of a Jiko Shokai.
I get the feeling sometimes, sorry, I should ask Erin, did you want to respond to that? I was immediately about
I
to
was
respond.
I was listening. I'm agreeing. Yes, the cross. It was what we were talking about. Yeah,
Yeah. I
cross
get the feeling
session.
that sometimes some university teachers sort of look at students and say, well, last year, the same bunch of kids that I have this year, same kind of level probably, but last year they didn't want to speak. So it's got to be something I can do in my curriculum, in my syllabus to actually make it easier for them because probably it was just too hard. I think there's too much of a misinterpretation of a reticence to participate, especially by first year students, to be equated with a skill level problem. Whereas it's not actually always a skill problem, it's a social problem. I don't know anybody in this room. Two, they're suddenly completely, not just they don't know anybody, but everything is different. They had to go through a different sort of doors, and they're not wearing their uniform or anything anymore. That's not necessarily that they don't know how to speak English. It's just that there are several reasons why they don't want to speak English with you, the university teacher that you are. And then that becomes translated by the university teacher saying, oh, these kids are idiots. So I've got to make my class even easier. And sometimes even the administration does that. And they ask you to teach with lower level textbooks. There were a bunch of comments in the Zoom chat that made me think of this. From, let's see, Edward Escobar, we have graduates visit our office and tell us that their high school English classes with us, the foreign teachers, was harder than the university English classes. Elizabeth herself said, I had grads from our high school come back and say first year university was easy, boring. Melody Cooks says, I still get first year students complaining that although they studied English for 6 years, they can't speak English. Now, that's the opposite side of it, where the students, the tradition of saying when you're doing a Jiko Shokai at your new job, as a new job hire, one of the first things that you say, Nani mo dekinai desu kara. So you just introduce yourself as someone who's completely useless. So please teach me everything. And sometimes I think that comes out when you're trying to talk to your English teacher saying, oh, I studied English for 6 years, but I don't know anything. That I think that you're putting on this air that you're somebody who just can't do anything, so that number one, you don't get called out in the room. And two, you get the easiest part of the curriculum by making the teacher think that you're an idiot. But Melody counters saying, I remind them that maybe they weren't practicing speaking. On the other hand, she says, I work at a prefectural university, so maybe our demographic is different. And she wanted to thank you for the talk today. I think she had to split. Where you teach at a private high school, Erin, or public high school?
We're public.
Public.
I wanted to say something about what you said about like people not knowing about how kids talk. I think one of the best things you can do, if it's at all possible, is like right away. Like one of the reasons our second activity that we do is a conversation test, is to prove that the kids can talk, because it's mandatory. And I said that we take turns with who grades. I have a very strong belief in all of my children. I know that they can speak. I know that they can talk, and the ALTs do as well. But a lot of my fellow teachers are like, oh, the kids, like I teach them in their regular English class and they never raise their hand and they never talk. And so when they have the first conversation test, it's almost for the other teachers as much as it is for the kids, because they come out of the conversation test and the kids are like, oh God, that was so scary. Oh God. And then the teachers come out and go, these kids can talk. And I'm like, yeah, I know they can. Now you've seen it too. Yeah. And it's a powerful thing, because the kids all say like, oh, it can't talk. Oh no, I can't. Oh, I can't possibly.
Right.
And so then the teachers take it at face value. And I'm like, no, you can't. You got to prove it. By the way, I think Edward's had his hand up for a while.
Oh, geez. I didn't see that, Edward. Edward, would you like to turn on your camera
that.
or at least your microphone and join us? Go ahead, sir. Good to see you. I haven't seen you.
No. I'm pretty happy just listening to what Erin has to say. But to be honest, with the whole Jiko Shokai, yeah, you're welcome. With the whole Jiko Shokai thing, with my first year high school students, I don't do that at all, just because I know they've been doing that for 3 years in junior high school.
Yes.
And with the Japanese teachers who are going to be doing that in their Japanese classes, they do that in their homerooms. And so our actually initial focus is not on Jiko Shokais, but on kind of like thought development. Trying to from the very beginning, diminishing this first language interference, introducing these English language type of thought processes, and then using that to develop their writing skills and reading skills and speaking skills and whatnot. But I guess like in comments with the whole university, because we're attached to university as a private school, and so you kind of expect that the university knows what we're doing and vice versa. But there's we got this big wall, both figuratively and literally, between us, and so the communication doesn't really happen as much as it should. But also because of the high amount of part-time teachers that come in and out of that university every year, there is no really a teacher's understanding of the students that are coming in, even though maybe most of those students that come from a school that's actually part of the whole institution. I'll stop there.
Okay.
Yeah.
We were talking just before earlier about doing overtime at your school, Erin. Do you guys have a time clock? Is that how to keep track of you? Or is it still just a regular shukimbo, or what is it?
We have like a time recorder that records when you have like a little card, and it records when we get there and when we leave.
Okay, like a thing. Okay.
Yeah, but that's actually to prevent excess overtime, because I think there's an overall push nationwide to cut down on teachers working as much as they do, and it's because it gets really dramatic. Some people who just seem to live at the school, but they didn't have any idea. Like there was a guess that people were working a lot, but there was no data. And so now when you arrive at the campus, you're required to clock in and you're required to clock out. And when it first started happening, people were nervous, and they were like, well, what if we arrive at school 5 minutes late? Are we gonna have to take time off? And then it became no, actually, we just want to know when you're here because we want to see. And then they found all of these people working too much, like way too much. And they were like, whoa, hey. And so now my school, other schools, is very vocal. I mean, I can't comment on what happens everywhere, but all meetings have to end by 5 o'clock. If 5 o'clock's the end of the day, you have to end the meetings by 5 o'clock. If they run even like a minute longer, the vice principal says, like, come talk to me. If you need the time, I'll get you the extra time, and you can leave 15 minutes early one day. If the meeting goes over 15, they're very, very, like, they want you to go home. They want you to be with your family. They don't want you to be stressed out. I think I feel like the people who get hit the hardest are the new teachers, the young ones. And I get that too, because when I was a first year teacher back in the States, like, I would just stay at school until my husband would call and say, are you ever coming home? Like, it's dark.
I called the hospital.
Are you all right? He really liked it once Google Maps, you could start seeing where you were, because he'd be like, all right, you're safe, I guess. But like when you're a first year teacher, you're drowning. You don't know what's going on. So it's not so much as mandatory overtime as just you feel like you got to be there because you got to figure this stuff out. You're reading and learning the lesson the day before you have to deliver it to the kids and figuring out how to teach. But then it's the people who have been there for a while that they're trying to work harder on programs and doing all kinds of their stuff. And you just have to say, please go home. Like, don't overwork yourself. So we do have the time clock, but it's only been used. We get a report every month that says exactly how much time you've been over the clock. And I don't know the range. Mine's very low. I leave right on time. I think others do.
Okay. I think Elizabeth wants to carry on the conversation according to the comment down there. And I will just avail myself of my washroom for a second. So you guys go ahead and carry on the conversation for just a minute while I step out. Elizabeth, go ahead.
Thank you. In the chat, I just put a message about I can never say it right. Hataraki Hoho Keikaku. Kaikaku.
Okay. Maybe I nope. You know better than I do. The kanji or kanji.
Right. So this this concept of work style reform. Yes. So if I understand correctly, you can shake your head or say yes. It came in 2020, 2021.
Oh, we've been doing it for longer because I know we had it since I've been teaching full time. We've had it, and that's been years now.
Okay.
But I think there's maybe like maybe that was the new word or the new program. But
before 2020.
Yeah. At least 2015.
Oh, really? Okay. Because I had the funniest experience. Two funny experiences. One, after school, I would go to the budojo and leave some of my stuff at school, do a couple hours at the budojo, come back 9 o'clock at night after chatting with my friends. People are still in school. And I'm one of the more senior teachers, and I just like, you guys go home. And then the other funny thing is, like you, I'm on a time card, like it's a swipe card. And there was a huge debate about, oh my God, if I'm 2 minutes before time to swipe, am I too late? And then the principal telling us, don't swipe an hour before. You shouldn't be at the school an hour before you're appointed to swipe. And then we're being really strict, no longer working on Saturdays. So the school days, Monday to Friday, are longer. And teachers are encouraged to swipe out, but then they hang around.
Well, that's not great.
Yeah,
our school's really, really good. Like if I get there, like if I go in at 6 o'clock in the morning, because I got stuff I beep in at 6 o'clock in the morning and then I beep out later. They want to see what you're doing. Now I haven't heard of anybody at my school, but I've heard that at other schools, like teachers are nervous they'll get caught. So they like will do that and clock out and then go back into work. But I don't know anybody at my school that's done that. Our administration, I don't know. I love my school. I can only sing their praises. Like they've been just like, you know, when you're here on campus, like even if you're there for just like a club event or something, which you get paid for anyways, but like if you go in for club, you beep in and then you beep out. Like they just want to know when you're there. Yep. But yeah, I imagine with any system, there's probably not great stuff here and there.
Yeah.
Oh, I blipped out again, didn't I? I hope I could be heard.
No, you're fine. You're good.
Okay.
It's in cycles.
Elizabeth, go ahead.
Good news. To the credit of our principal and vice principal, they'll actually write a message or broadcast a message, go home. They'll kick us out, or they'll threaten to lock the doors. You guys go home.
There's so many ways that conversation could go. It's too bad, I think, that when I'm looking at the problems of education in North America, and I'm talking about Canada as well as the United States, and then the problems here too, these are sort of twists in cultural practice in any country that is based on the lack of good compensation to teachers. If teachers could be compensated well, the whole problem of switching teachers here, switching teachers there, if there was more budget to actually pay money to teachers as much as the money that we pay to, I don't know, professional golfers or basketball players, I think we'd probably be able to cut down on a lot of these problems in terms of why teachers work as hard as they do and still have a strange sense of job satisfaction. The idea that, well, I love my job so much, I'm willing to take this low pay for it. I love my job so much, that's why I'm willing to work until 8 o'clock every night for my students, despite the fact that I get paid so little. I think it's kind of a hidden snake in the grass in that sense, something that people don't address as well as they should.
Can I say that I did the proper movement? I started in America and then came to Japan because I got paid so terribly in the United States, so awfully that I had to get a summer job every summer to like survive because even though everybody's like, oh, you teachers get the summer off and you get paid for it. No, you get paid for the 10 months that you work, for the 196 days, and that's all you get paid for. And so then I come here and I get bonuses. Like, this is a foreign word. Everyone's like, you don't get bonuses in America? And I'm like, what is this bonus? You want to give me money for my travel? And you want to give me money to help my rent? What? Like, American teachers don't get none of that stuff. And so like I had one school I worked at, it was 7:30 to 3. And I hit that school at 7:29 so I could beat my card by 7:30. And at 3 o'clock, vroom, peeling out on my car, like, because
you don't get paid.
There was nothing. I did not feel appreciated at all. There was no extra money. There was no extra time. I taught 35 classes in a week. It was insane. And it was circular, circular, circular. But here, because I only have 16 or 18 sections, depending on the year and my class load, I'm planning programs. I'm doing amazing things. They throw bonuses at me. They throw all this other stuff at me. So whenever the other teachers might be like, oh, I'm sure in other countries they get paid better, taken care of, I'm like, I don't know what you guys are talking about, because I only have 2 examples and this is the best one I've ever seen. So I'm good. And I can tell you that it makes me feel like working harder, because I feel appreciated more.
And I still think we need to get more money to teachers to show them appreciation for what it is that they do even in this country.
It helps.
Yeah,
it helps. Like, I can tell you, as somebody who didn't get paid, who does get paid now, like, it is such a feeling.
Just a couple of other questions before we go. Anything new with Google that you want to report, like looking at Google down the road? Hey, there's this new feature in Meets that I think everybody should know about.
Oh, Meet, I don't know what they're going to do. I'm still annoyed that I have to use my business account to run Google Meet breakout rooms, because still the education, unless you're educational enterprise, you can't do breakout rooms and Meet still. No. Which I don't like. I have my own Google account that I pay for, that I've used for years, so I just use that one. Okay. But yeah, I don't like that. But let's see, Google Classroom. I don't know. I use Google Classroom for absolutely everything. Everything's automated and runs so well. They're always coming out with new features and new stuff. What was the new thing that just came out? You can now reuse, when you reuse or post an assignment, you can schedule it to more than one class. It used to be you could send it to all your classes, but then you couldn't schedule it. Or you could schedule it to one class, then you had to copy it in all the classes. And now, if you know what I'm talking about, you'll rejoice, because you can send your assignments scheduled to all classes at the same time. And since I teach six classes of the same class, it's very, very nice. So,
Erin, how's your Japanese? I think I heard in the washroom that Japanese is not necessarily your forte. Okay, so if your Japanese is not that good, let me read this out for you. This is from Watanabe Sensei. Watanabe Sensei, 僕の日本語の発音はね、本当に申し訳ないですけど、日本語ですいません。以前アメリカ映画で教員が、給料が低いって揶揄されてた思い出しました。So I remember, she says, I remember a movie where an American educator was just ridiculing his horrible salary. And it was just something that you reminded her of. And it's, what was I remember now, we were talking just before the show started, and I was trying to tell you about this meme or this article that I saw about how specifically in the United States, educators with a certain degree, with a certain a major in a Bachelor of Arts or an MA, their teaching salary, and then relative to other people who's, let's say, was the same degree in biochemistry and they were working at a private lab or something, that the person with the same degree, same qualifications was making about 35% more than they were, just because they decided to become teachers. And this is across the board. This is an average per state. It was like really bad in the blue states, and still not that great in the red states, but overall in the whole country. if you were a teacher and if you had the same qualifications as anybody else who was working in another part of society, you were going to be making about 20 to 22% less than that person with the same qualifications. Just absurd.
Definitely.
Yeah, just
my I can tell you in exact numbers because
Oh.
I have a Bachelor of Science in Environmental Science, and I have a friend who graduated with me with a Bachelor of Science in Environmental Science because I was a science teacher in the States. And her first year job, when she got a job, she got paid $51,000 a year. My first year and I went on and got a master's degree. With my master's degree, my first year teaching, I made $26,000. If you don't know the math, just add 2 zeros on it, gets it kind of close to yen. But yeah, she made so much more than I did. And I went on and even got a master's, which I had to pay off on top of it.
Roughly 100%. Roughly 100% more than you, right?
Yeah, it was 2650. I can't do math because obviously I only got a science degree that was
only
only worth $26,000 a year.
I have a better excuse than you. I'm an English teacher. I have a reason why and it's not even math. That's arithmetic. That's arithmetic. I don't even want to credit that. Let's see. Catherine and Linda, last chance if you want to join the conversation, raise your hand or ask a question. Otherwise, I'm going to ask Erin, where are we going to see you next? Are you doing any presentations, doing any plenaries for anything like that?
I put in a bunch of stuff for the National Conference for JALT, so I'll see you there hopefully. Actually, I do have to say that if you guys are into ALT issues, like as I am, we have a, hold on, I'm going to bring it up. There's a book launch this month at the end of the month, and we're starting with JALT. We're starting like a working group to try to connect ALTs and JTEs and university people like more together, and it's kind of all really loose and we don't quite know what's going on, but we're trying to get people to have ideas. So after the book launch, we're going to do that, and if I find it, I will put it into the chat here, which I will find. I closed the Facebook window because my internet kept jumping up and down, but yeah, I'll find it and I'll put the link for there.
If you get anywhere with that book launch, and if you'd like a place to publicize it, please keep me in the loop. I can probably get you an episode here, because that's something that I really do want to foster. This idea of communication. The more I do stuff on OTJ, the more I realize there isn't communication. There isn't even a willingness sometimes to communicate, or there's a fear to communicate between people because, hey, it might make more work for me. And I don't think that's really the best excuse to have as in your holster when it comes to trying to solve problems. We can't solve them ourselves, and in the loss of motivation to solve them, we just turn to cynicism. So I'm glad to hear about projects like that. Yeah, keep me on the loop on them. Maybe I can help you publicize it.
Sounds good.
Okay. Any final words you want to say before we say goodbye to everyone?
High school is really, really fun. And if you're still trying to decide what you want to do, teach high school for a little bit. It's really, really fun. The kids, like I said, the junior high school kids are a little bit more lovey, but high school kids still, they're still excited by everything. They're not jaded yet. They want to do great things. And even just one little moment, I had a great moment with a kid a couple years ago. We have open school days at our school, right? Mm-hmm. And I always I'm kind of like the not Japanese teacher. So I end up getting the job where I stand outside and I greet everybody all the time. Like, hey, I'm the character out the door. But I usually stand out there, and there's some kids, helper kids standing around too. And the parents who want to speak in English always come up and be like, so do you guys really use English at this school? And I'll have these conversations with them and everything. And this one guy was like, I don't think, you could possibly get all the kids in this school could like just, speak English. And I was like, okay. And I turned to the kid who was like volunteering like right next to me. And I was like, hey, come here. And the kid's like, what? Huh? And I pulled him over and I was like, let's have a conversation. Can you tell them about your English class? Like that you had last year in my class? Like what activities did we do? And he was like, oh, okay. And just like on the spot, he just starts talking to this parent, and the parent's like, wow. And so I thanked the kid afterwards, and I didn't, I apologized. Like 6 months later, the homeroom teacher comes to me and is like, that kid that you talked to on that day? And I was like, wait, what? oh yeah. Why? She's like, he's really inspired to like study abroad now because like he realized in that moment that you just called him over and talked to him that he really could speak. So like he really wants to come talk to you, but he was kind of nervous. Even though you're not, teaching him right now, can he come talk to you? And I was like, of course. And like this kid and I started this whole little Kiowa program where we all talked and we invited other kids to come. But just because that day I put him on the spot. And so like those are the moments I have with these high school kids because they're looking for something that means that they can do something great and means that they can connect with someone. So yeah, high school kids are cool. So if you're trying to figure out what you want to do, teach high school sometime. It's really fun.
That's a really inspiring thing to hear. Typically it came from you. I want to tell everyone next time around, we've got another great guest. Not that we have nothing but great guests here. This one is Ann Maeda. And if you guys don't know Ann Maeda, she's big in extensive reading. And one thing that she did that was pointed out to me by someone, which would make her a really good guest, is that she helped set up an extensive reading program in Nepal. Pardon me. No, it's not the coronavirus. An extensive reading program in Nepal. And I'm going to be talking to her about that. Going to be talking to her about, basically her teaching and extensive reading and how to do extensive reading, how to edit graded readers. I think that should be a really fun conversation. Me personally, I want to learn a bit more about extensive reading, try to get into some sort of tandem relationship with what I do with fluency. So I hope you all can join that. Erin, I want to say thank you very much. That was a really great chance to open the window into what happens in high schools. I want to thank everybody who was in the room here with us in the Zoom room, the lovely comments that were in the Facebook thread. I'll have this as a YouTube edited recording within a couple of days or so. But again, Erin, thank you. And I want to ask you, would you like to ever come back again to OTJtv?
Sure. I love talking about high school. I think you can tell I really love it. So if anybody has any questions about anything, I'd love to. And thanks for asking me to come today. It was really fun and very flattering. So thank you.
No, I want to say thank you to everyone. Everyone, big wave. Thanks, Erin.
Thanks, Jose. See you later.